Hello and welcome to another tutorial. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make Speed Garage in the style of Silver Bumper, inspired by his tracks Get to Know Organ Mix, Fiverr Dub, Don't Make Me, Feel I, and Wickedest. The project file, samples, and presets are available for a small contribution in the description, although a Splice subscription is required to download the vocal as it's not included in the project. I have, however, included a bonus bass preset as part of the download. If you find this video useful, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and you can hit the bell notification if you never want to miss an upload. As always, drop your suggestions for future videos in the comments. Our BPM is 138 and we're in the key of F sharp minor. Let's start with the kick, and here I've layered a 909 inspired kick with a crash. The crash is low in the mix, but it adds some high-end crispiness to the kick. Then we have the drums group. First we have the claps group. We have two claps, which are mostly layered. The claps were inspired by Fiverr Dub. Then we have the snares. I'll play these with the claps so you can hear the interplay. We have the fill at bar 8, which is ramping up in velocity. If you want to improve your Speed Garage drum programming, I'd recommend finding a track with a drums only intro, which most of Silver Bumper's tracks have, sourcing similar samples and seeing how close you can get to professional sounding drums. You can also check out my other UK Garage videos for more tips, with the playlist linked on the screen and in the description. The groove, something so integral to UKG, comes from this two-step groove, which is applied to everything in the drums group, as well as the electric piano and the Rhodes MIDI. You could also experiment with swings manually by playing your MIDI using drum pads, or you could even extract a groove from another track's drum intro and apply it to your drums. Next, we have the high perks. I'll explore these one by one. So these first two hats are mostly layered and panned to opposite sides to create width. Then we have multiple hats in a drum rack. Here we have these triplet swung closed hats. Which have been turned down and panned within the rack, with everything together in choke group 1. Next we have the shaker loop. Let's listen to the whole project with and without the loop. This loop helps humanize the drums and glues the high perks together. I've used this free wider plugin to widen the stereo image without compromising the phase. Finally, we have the crash, which has echo applied. Silver Bumper's drums have this crunchy, slightly over-compressed quality, which is characteristic of modern Speed Garage. To achieve this, I've used a parallel saturation rack with clean and dirty channels. The dirty channel has redux and vinyl distortion. Then we have a saturator, parallel compression using glue, parallel drum bus, and G-Clip, which is a free clipper plugin, so a bit like a limiter. Let's listen with and without the processing. The volume differential is noticeable here, but hopefully you get the idea. Reverb is applied via Send A. And I've chosen this empty club preset as I often do. I'm sidechaining the reverb using the kick, and this helps the kick feel more impactful, as well as making the reverb pump. Next we have the Warper bass. This pattern is inspired by Get to Know and Fiverr Dub, with the bass lines for these tracks having similar melodic leaps. The patch itself is inspired by Don't Make Me. In Massive, we have 2 detuned square waves for oscillators 1 and 2. Both have been taken down by 2 octaves and then detuned by 10 cents in opposing directions. There's a low pass filter with its cutoff modulated by envelope 1 plus distortion in the effects. The high-pitched digital ringing is created by the sample and hold. On the channel, we have saturator, sculpting EQ, parallel compression, another EQ to tame the sub, and this multi-band sidechain compression, which is using the kick as a trigger, but we're only sidechaining below 150 Hz, and bass mono below 500 Hz. Reverb is applied via A. There's a basic version of this preset available for free in the description. Next, we have the FX melodic and vocal group. Let's start with the effects. We have several dubbed out effects here, and these all have individualized echoes. The riser is made in Serum. And is noise running into a low pass filter with the filter sweeping up for a bar via LFO1. In the effects, there's hyperdimension for width, distortion, and EQ. My sample selection choices are pretty standard for Speed Garage, and we'll see more dubby echo effects with the vocal. Next, we have the melodic group. And there's iZotope Vinyl on the channel, creating a warbly pitching effect. The wear also smooths out the high end a little, like a low pass filter. First, we have this electric piano, and this is a preset called Dark Piano Chord with this chord MIDI effect. So although there's a single note shown in the MIDI, it's actually a chord, and I believe it's an inversion of B sus2. Within the rack, there's an auto filter, drum bus, and echo. Then we have the Rhodes. These are triads, so B minor and F sharp minor, although you could use 7 or 9 chords for something jazzier sounding. These chords are inspired by Feel I. I've used this note length MIDI effect to keep the chords nice and tight, and I've used a free plugin called Keyzone Classic, and I'll link this in the description. On the channel, there's drum bus, and I've used AutoPan to modulate volume and create a staccato feel. Next, we have the strings pad. previously used this patch in my manifesto video. We have a saw wave with its unison at 7, and FM from B is modulated via LFO1. Oscillator B is a sine wave with its unison also at 7 and its level taken down. The noise oscillator is also active, and these are all running into a low pass filter, but I've just used the FAT to add a little bit of distortion. In the effects, there's distortion, EQ, and reverb. And on the channel, there's drum bus, an auto filter, sweeping the frequencies around using the built-in LFO, EQ, and sidechaining via the kick. Finally, we have the vocals. The main vocal has been pitched up by 6 semitones, and we're using the Pro algorithm. This kind of sweet, sickly R&B vocal repitching is inspired by Get to Know. I'll link this splice sample in the description. On the channel, there's EQ and echo. The vocal effects has an EQ, and this makes this effect sound more distant, plus an echo with 100% wet and high feedback. I've chosen a quarter note division, but this is definitely worth experimenting with. You could also achieve this effect by automating the vocal channel to ascend or audio effects rack chain with echo or delay on, but my technique works fine. This is inspired by Silver Bumper's vocal processing in Wickedest. On the group, there's Serum Effects with distortion and reverb. Finally, on the FX, melodic, and vocal group, there's saturation, parallel compression, EQ, a sub-side chain rack, chorus, and utility monoing below 500 Hz. Reverb is applied via A. I'm not sure if this is how Silver Bumper processes these elements in his track, but this method helps glue everything that isn't the drums or bass together. And that's the video. Please drop me any questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.